everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we're doing a currently reading update to chat about what I've been reading recently. So I have been trying to squeeze in a lot of reading right at the end of the year, especially because I am off of work for the last week of December and the first week of January. So I have 2 weeks where I don't have to work, so I can really get some good reading done. So I've been trying to kind of squeeze in some of those last few books that I've been meaning to read by the end of the year. Earlier in December, I was not reading quite as quickly as I had intended to. Some books were just taking me a little bit longer to get through than I meant it to. But overall, reading in December has been going well, other than that some books were a little bit slower going than I was anticipating. But let's get into what I have been reading recently. So we'll start with the last book that I finished, which was City of Dragons by Robin Hobb, the third book in the Rainwild Chronicles, which is part of the Realm of the Elderlings, where we are in the Rainwilds following with the dragon keepers and the dragons as they are trying to settle the dragons in a new place. And this one I also listened to as an audiobook. This quartet, the Rainwild Chronicles, I've been listening to them as audiobooks and really enjoying them that way. This one was the shortest in the series, but yeah, I have been enjoying this one. I think that I get the feeling that these second two books, like the first two, are kind of one book that's been split into two. So I didn't have a lot of feelings about this first book yet, and I feel like most of my thoughts and feelings about these will come when I read the last book, because I feel like that will kind of complete the arc. Anyway, this is the last book that I finished, and I think I gave this 3.5 stars. And then that will lead us into what I am currently reading, because my current audiobook is Blood of Dragons, which is the fourth and final book of the Rainwild Chronicles. Right now, I think I'm about a third of the way into the book. And I feel like I can't say too much about these because it's so far into this series, but I am enjoying this. There is a certain character confrontation that I am waiting for, and I'm a little bit worried because it could go very badly, but I also am kind of hoping that it will just be really satisfying. So that's really what I'm just waiting for, is this one specific character confrontation. But other than that, I think, in this one, they're really exploring a lot of things and getting maybe some more answers about stuff. I'm being very vague, but I think that there's some interesting, it's fleshing out some things about the world's history, I guess, which is interesting. So currently reading this. My current physical read is The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. This, I think, came out earlier this year, but this is also one of the poll picks that you all voted for. So when you vote on my seasonal TBR to add a book, this won by a hair, which the second one, which I think had one less vote, was The Queen of the Tyrling. So I'm trying to read both of them this winter, since they were so close. But this is a fantasy standalone, I believe, that is inspired by Hungarian and Jewish folklore. And I have been meaning to read this. I am very excited about it because I always am kind of interested in fantasy that is inspired by Jewish folklore or culture or things like that. But then since it came out, I've heard some mixed reviews about it. I've heard some people who love it, but then some people who really good atmosphere, but not great like story or characters. I'm only a chapter into this. I read the first chapter, so I am not far enough to like really know how I feel about it. So I'm like 20 pages into it, but can confirm good atmosphere so far. I'm really enjoying the atmosphere, which is always like a big thing for me. So anyway, I'm liking the atmosphere so far, and it is kind of like dark feeling. I hope that I like the execution of the story and the characters, but I'm really not far enough into this yet to know. I am hoping that I will be able to finish this before the end of the year, because I really want to start the year with something else and just have this like be completed for this year. But yeah, so this is my current physical read. I'm gonna have to like really focus on it to, it's not super long, but I just have been a little bit scattered recently. So I need to like focus on it to make sure I finish before the end of the year. Okay, and then on to what I am planning to read next. So whatever I read next is pretty much going to be the first book that I read in 2021, or 2022. Wow. Okay, I'm already messing this up, but I always try to be very careful about what book I pick for my first book of the year, because I guess it's a little superstitious that it's like it sets the tone for the rest of the reading year. So very often I do start with a reread because I know it's something that I like, so I feel like it kind of starts the year off on the right foot. Sometimes I also will start with something that is by an author I already know I like, so I also feel like pretty confident that it's going to go well. In 2021, the first book that I started with, I DNF'd. So that kind of started off the year on not the best foot, I guess, which it was kind of a mediocre reading year, so maybe I'm right. Maybe, you know, my first book of the year does predict how the reading year will go. Anyways, this was a preamble to talk about, I have two options. I'm gonna have to decide once I finish The Wolf and the Woodsman, like which one I'm in the mood for, because they have very different vibes, but they kind of fit into both of my criteria. One is a reread, one is a author that I've already enjoyed. So the potential reread is The Binding by Bridget Collins, which was one of my favorite books of the year, if not like my favorite book of the year, in 2019. And I have really been wanting to reread this. It's on my winter TBR. This is, I guess, kind of like historical fantasy. I think it's like vaguely set in like Victorian-ish England. It's very vague as to like the setting and time period. But it is about this world where people can remove memories from someone's mind and bind it into a book, and we're following a character who discovers that he is able to do this, and then finds a mystery about his own life that he has to figure out. But the first time I read this, I adored it. I became like absolutely obsessed with it, and I think I read it for the first time in January of 2019. And so I kind of just like associate this with like, oh, this is a book that I read in January. So I really want to read it this January. I probably will at some point. I'm not sure if it's going to be the very first book though. Also Bridget Collins, another author, does excellent atmosphere, which is part of why I loved this. She just, a very atmospheric read. Anyway, okay, so that is one option for first book of the year. The other option for first book of the year is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. So I have read other things from Tasha Suri, which I really liked. I read the books of Amba Duology, which I really enjoyed both of those. I think they were both 4-star reads for me. So I'm pretty confident that I will like this. I'm hoping to just like really love it. Depends on how, you know, we'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty confident I will at least like this a lot. So this might also be the first book. This one, I actually don't remember too much about what it's about. This is one of those books where I kind of don't want to know a lot about it. I want to just go in not knowing a lot and just let it be whatever it is, especially because it's from an author that I already know I like. So I feel pretty confident about just like diving in with very little information. Anyways, but this is my other option if I want something that's a little bit more like high fantasy for my first book of the year. All right, so those are my 2 physical reads. Then for my next audiobook, I'm not exactly sure what I want to read next, but some that I want to get to. One that I was thinking of is, I think, called The Castle in the Air by Diana Wynne Jones, which is the second book to Howl's Moving Castle. I read Howl's Moving Castle last year, I think, and enjoyed it. It's a very fun book. I've heard the rest of the series is not as good as the first one, but I did want to just, it's a trilogy, the books are short. I wanted to complete the trilogy, so I might just listen to the next 2 books. So the next one is Castle in the Air. Another book that I definitely want to read in January is So Many Beginnings by Bethany C. Morrow. I've liked a lot of things from Bethany C. Morrow before, and So Many Beginnings is part of the, I think it's called Classics Remix series. So it is a reinterpretation or retelling of Little Women, but told from the perspective of a Black family with 4 sisters. So I really want to get to that one, especially in January, because it's another one that I kind of associate with January, because I guess at the beginning of 2020 is when I saw the most recent Little Women adaptation and really loved it, and then I started reading the book and I got like halfway into Little Women and then was kind of like, I loved the movie, I'm not sure I'm going to read this entire book, but I would love to read this kind of reinterpretation of the story. And I know I like Bethany C. Morrow's books, but I kind of associate the story of Little Women with January as well. Apparently I have a lot of books that I associate with January, but it just seems like the right month to read Little Women. Anyway, so I might also read that. Well, I'm definitely going to read that in January. I'm just not sure if that is the next book I'm going to read. Anyway, those are all of the books that I am currently reading and what I'm probably going to read next. Let me know. I'd love to know what you have been reading. How's your December going? Do you know what you're going to be reading for your first book in January? Do you like plan out the first book of the year? But I'd love to know all of that. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.